campaign that we had organized, so many of us in this room put together, and it started to seem like it could be competitive. And I remember different people starting to approach me, people from Beacon Hill, staffers from the State House, lobbyists, journalists, and they said, if you get elected, you're gonna have to make a choice. You'll have to decide, are you gonna stand up for your values, potentially ruffle some feathers, or are you gonna go along to get along and get some things done? And I remember just thinking how disappointed, how frustrated, frankly, how even angry I felt that could be presented as a proposition. And so I just want to share with you that, in this work that we do with our colleagues, with Rep. Eidhoven, with Senator Eldridge, with Sal, for me, doing this work is about not accepting that as a proposition. I wake up every day motivated by the thought that with your support, I'm standing up for our principles, and with your partnership, we can deliver for our community. And that really is what motivates me. And it's more important now than ever. Unfortunately, we know what's happening on January 20th. We know all of the different threats that we've heard about: eliminating the Department of Education, bans on abortion and gender-affirming care, threats to our immigrant population. And it's part of why I wanted to bring us all together tonight. At first I was going to call it a holiday celebration. I wasn't quite sure we were ready to celebrate, but I called it a holiday party. I think we do deserve a party, but it's really these connections that we've formed that are going to be so important going into the new year. I want to highlight just a couple of things I worked on this session, and then we're going to turn the music back on. But a big thing I worked on was the housing bond bill. And I've had the honor of serving on the Joint Committee on Housing throughout most of my time in the legislature. I've also had the honor of serving on the Joint Committee on Bonding. And frankly, those requests were intentional, because when that bond bill came through, I wanted to be there at the table every step of the way. In my first term, we passed the last housing bond bill. It was a $1.6 billion bill. It had virtually no significant policy items in it. This year, and again, thanks to a lot of collective advocacy, our bond bill was $5.2 billion, and it had 49 major policy provisions. One of those policy provisions is eviction ceiling, and as a lifelong renter, that's really important to me. When I got to Beacon Hill, frankly, renters' issues were hardly on the table. And collectively, and Sal, I want to give more credit right to Council. Sal is the statewide leader on that. Let's hear it for that again. Finally, we were moving that forward with Sal's leadership. But collectively, thanks to so many of you in the room, we've put these tenant issues on the map. And we finally passed some of these policy provisions in the bond bill. Another big thing about the bond bill, some of you may know I grew up in public housing. Massachusetts is one of the few states that actually has a state public housing program. Unfortunately, like so much of public housing, our public housing has been subject to austerity. We need billions of dollars in investment in repairing our state public housing. This bond bill invests $2 billion in state public housing renovation, going a long way to addressing what we need to do. And remember what I said a minute ago, the last bond bill was $1.7 billion or so. So here we are a few years later doing more than the entire previous bill just on that public housing piece. Another big thing that we did was we legalized ADUs by right statewide, essentially ending single-family zoning as we know it. And finally, something I've worked a lot on in this time is a concept called social housing. Who here's heard of social housing? Last session, I introduced legislation to begin a social housing program in Massachusetts. When Secretary Augustus got appointed, I met with him, worked with the Healy administration. They included an authorization to give us a path to start social housing in Massachusetts. I met with the secretary last month, and they committed to working with us to make it happen. Chris Addis in my office is in the back. Thank you, Chris, for all that you do. We're meeting with the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities again tomorrow, as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning. You're not going to catch me at the bar. We're going to be meeting in the morning to work through the next steps of advancing a social housing pilot in Massachusetts, another way to address the affordable housing crisis. So, as you all know, all of you who know me very well, I could actually stand here and talk to you about policy until the sun comes up, and maybe until the sun goes down again. I actually could. Like, no one doubt me, because if you doubt me, I'll do it. But I'm gonna probably wrap it up there. I think Sal said it all. I think Jivan said it all. I think your support and your friendship that's given me this opportunity to serve, and your presence this evening says it all. I'm gonna do a quick shout out. We had one more elected join us. My good friend, Ward 1 City Councilor Matt McLaughlin is in the back. I think that does it. We do have a quorum of the Somerville City Council, so thank you, Somerville, for showing up. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you donate. I hope you get food, and reach out anytime. Thanks so much, friends.